It's UPB on this Thursday, August 27, 2015. S&P 500 futures up almost 0.75%. To me, the key part here is S&P 500 futures are above a level that has been getting rejected this week. We are above this level. Maybe we'll pull back to it at the open and then bounce higher, but it looks very good for a continuation of a move to the upside, although I would look from a more medium-term perspective. This reminds me a lot of the flash crash back in 2010, where prices succumbed to this massive sell-off, and then weeks later, after we bounced, we actually came back and broke through this level. So that's something to keep an eye on going forward. Look at the SPY ETF, the spiders. We put in a higher low from the Ebola crisis. Is this just going to bounce a little bit up to 200 here? We'll put in a nice head and shoulders pattern, and it'll be a confirmation of the top, and then we'll just completely collapse down to zero for the SPY, like the bears have been calling for every step of this bull market. Something to keep an eye on would be a topping pattern. What we want to do is a nice V-bottom blast off to new highs like we saw back in the Ebola crisis, and every single pullback we've seen since the lows in March of 2009. Something to keep an eye on also is the bounce in crude oil. Hello, crude oil. Been really leading this market lower. We're up over 3%, and I was talking about this just a couple weeks ago. How, hey, you want to look back, go to the 20-year chart perspective here, and you can draw the trend line. We've clearly broken down, and look, we started breaking down in 2008 before the financial crisis, and we started breaking down from June of last year until March of this year. We bottomed, had a little bit of a bounce, continuing to the downside. Is this leading to the next sort of financial crisis, quote unquote, because we don't know what this crisis is going to entail? Something to keep an eye on. Also, let's look at the US dollar index, which a lot of corporations, their earnings reports have been alluding to this strength with the US dollar as a headwind. We broke over triple digits earlier this year, something I called for back before the year even started. We're consolidating here, a beautiful pattern. Looks somewhat bullish here, and if we do spike to the upside, that's going to impede corporate earnings going forward. Something to keep an eye on, and of course the market's always forward-looking. And perhaps that's just another reason, aside from China, why stocks are pulling back. Amazon upgraded this morning. Again, SPY, S&P 500 ETF spiders, that's the chart we're pulling up here. Lower high here, so we're looking for that some sort of a V-bottom. Even if we get prices up a little bit, back to the 197 level, the gap down level, we'll have a nice hammer pattern setting up for at least a short-term move to the upside. Look at Amazon, similar type pattern here, found support just above the 450 level. Unbelievable to see it back over the $500 price, and now analysts are coming out upgrading it this morning, looking for the move up to the 525 level. What a reversal that'll be. Netflix, same kind of action here. Netflix, a decline, but rejected those lower prices, briefly broke below 90 on that Monday flash crash or whatever you want to call it. We've pulled back. We're at actually 112 here this morning. We're up over 114 earlier, looking to recover some of these losses here from the recent weakness. Twitter hit a new all-time record low yesterday, but a nice reversal, and we'll see if we can continue up over the $25 level. Look at JP Morgan Chase. I mean, you got to love the action here for JP Morgan Chase up against long-term trend line resistance. I pointed this out in all of my videos here. These lines have not changed. And you can see the pullback we had. We found support. We're back in the channel. And you can see the move up here. We're up $62.50, $63 this morning. Looking for the move back up to the top side. Tested analyst out yesterday, I believe, with a $78 price target. So seeing more upside for the stock, at least potential-wise. This could also be a megaphone topping pattern, but that's something we'll revisit after we get up to the top here. Let's look at also DuPont, which has been breaking down. Again, I'm talking about the S&P 500. You know, the trend is your friend. On the flip side, a lot of these trades to the downside have really reached a nadir. So let's look here from an oversold perspective. The stock rejected the under $50 level here. So we can see at least a short-term bounce here. It's been a really dreadful decline here for this Dow Jones Industrial Average component. Could see a bounce up to the $52.50, $55 level before all is said and done, before we resume our decline to the downside. Let's look at the Q, the triple Qs, the NASDAQ. Look at that. That's unbelievable, isn't it? We came down to support here, briefly broke below it, but those prices were rejected on Monday. We can see we're back over 100. That's a big key level here. Just as 120 was for the IWM throughout 2015. We're breaking back up, so the target, I think here short term before we pull back, is going to be 110, which implies another $7 of upside. How about Boeing? Wow. I was looking for the stock to soar in 2015. It's done exactly the opposite. Actually breaking down perfectly to this long-term support line. Again, this Thinkorswim platform, you put up some charts, it's there for years. And some of these lines I put in go back many, many years. Back. So if you look, this trend line, it holds. And so many times I won't even touch a chart. It'll be 3 or 4 years. And then I'll go back and revisit that chart, and it'll just come down to a trend line so perfectly. So you can see we broke below it. We come up to this right here. Look at this level. We want to break this today. If we break the 130, that brings the 137.50 in focus. It's going to be a great buy signal there for Boeing. And finally, let's move on to the VIX, because the VIX is really broken out this week. Yeah, Captain Obvious here. Hi, the VIX is higher this week, folks. Stocks have fallen. I'll see if stocks can recover their losses here. 197 on the SPY would be something to look at. But if you go all the way back to 98, someone posted a great little thing on Twitter talking about the VIX spikes, and you can see most of the VIX spikes stop at about 45.50. And this week we actually got up to what, 50? Yeah, just about at the open. We got up to about 50, rejected here, and you know, this is something I've talked about for many, many years, is just being that, you know, it's unfortunate, but a bully comes in and just knocks the VIX down, hangs it up by its underwear, and before you know it, we're going to be back in the 20s and the 18s and 12s. And then everybody's going to be complaining about how low the volatility is. Oh my goodness, the volatility is so low, nobody's pricing in an upside move in volatility. Oh. So that's probably what we're going to head back to at some point. It takes a little bit. In each case, probably takes 1 or 2 months before we even start to see the move down to 20. And then from there, we're going to collapse down into single digits. Yeah, pretty crazy to call that here, but I'm just going out on a limb. All right, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. I'll see you in the chat room. S&P 500 futures. Let's look real quick. We are still up some 0.75%. So we have that move up March 2009. What a move we've had, and we have this market crash. See this red candle? Yeah, market crash. I think the one thing that really has me, I don't know, spooked or at least nervous is the fact that financial crisis started here and we had to move down to here. So if you draw a trend line across, this is support. This is the internet bubble. This is the financial crisis. Support is here. So if this is indeed the start of a crash, which I've talked about many times, is, hey, you know what, there's going to be plenty of time to get on this elevator to the downside if indeed this is the start of a massive market crash. Look how much room we have to the downside to get to support. It's kind of scary. It really is. So we've had this really massive, historic, once-in-a-lifetime bull market. We're starting to pull back here. If we come down to this support level, my goodness, folks, it's gonna be glory days, because we're neither bull or bear here. We're going to trade the market. What it's going to give us, it's given us lots of gains here over the last 6+ years. If it does indeed start to pull back, we're just going to be doing cartwheels to the downside. Absolutely. All right, UPB here, OptionMillionaires.com. We'll see you in the chat room. Remember, we'll have a great Thursday. Goodbye.